Sairam, everyone. Just to recollect where we were last week, I think we were all so concerned about death, how to remember pranava. Sometimes death comes unexpectedly. How should we be prepared? So there was a variety of discussions on that, so that we can hopefully remember Om or pranava at the last moment. So that's where we were last week. So I will ask the sisters to continue from where we were. Sairam sisters, take it.
This is the entire essence of the Gita. For the goal for all man's actions is to attain the acme of progress. Is it not? That is the urge which makes him engage in prayers, in japa, recitation of name of God, and dhyana, meditation, in archana and tapas, austerity. All those who have placed faith in these have to remember the goal throughout. Krishna said that Om or Pranava has to be remembered at the moment of death. There are certain points that require elucidation in connection with this, for there are many who argue that the Pranava can be repeated only by a few and that others are not entitled to it. This is wrong. This false conclusion has been arrived at since they do not know the truth. It springs from a mistaken belief. The Gita does not mention this group or that group. Krishna declares whoever, without any qualifying words, limiting it to one class or sex. He has not even said who deserves or who does not deserve, who is authorized or who is unauthorized. He has only said that for meditation on the pranava, merely calling it to memory is of no use. Some preliminary disciplines have to be gone through, like the control of the senses, the concentration of the mind, etc.
Thank you very much, Kalyan. I think one of the purposes of Swami's avatar is to correct, I guess, some of the misconceptions which have crept in into the Sanatana Dharma. So here is an extra explanation by Swami on pranava and sometimes people being restricted from chanting or people being dissuaded from chanting or things like that. So I would stop here. I will open it up for a discussion, please. Saira.
Auntie, can you read the Telugu?
Yeah, 1 minute. So Arun had sent that Telugu PDF about Gita. In that book, we did not have this translation. Yeah, I'll try to read it. Geeta Saramantayu Indulone Kaladu. Manudu ఏ విధమైన సత్కర్మలు చేసినను ఉత్తమ గతిని పొందవలననే ఉద్దేశమే కదా. Arun, can you just...
Yes, Auntie. Swami saying this is the essence of Gita. And
మానవుడు ఏ విధమైన సత్కర్మలు చేసినను,
if man does any good work,
it is to obtain that uttama gati.
It is to obtain the exalted position.
Yeah.
Exalted goal, the goal.
లేకున్నా పవిత్ర ప్రార్థనలు, జప ధ్యానములు, అర్చన తపస్సులు ఎందుకు చేతురో?
So if that is not so, why are people engaged in doing auspicious or pure prayers, doing japa and dhyana, meditation and japa, and also doing archana or doing tapas?
అట్లు చేయు ఆస్తికులు అందరూ ఈ విషయమును చక్కగా గమనించిన సార్థకము నొందగలరు.
If all of those who engage in such activities, if they properly inquire, they'll be, or they observe it appropriately or nicely, they'll be able to understand the inner significance or the real essence.
ఈ 7వదైన ప్రాణ ప్రయాణ కాలమున భగవంతుని స్మరించు విషయమై ఓంను స్మరించుమని తెలిపెను.
So the 7th concept of remembering the pranava at the time of leaving the breath, thinking of the Lord, has been stated by Sri Krishna.
ఇందులో కొంత విచారించవలసిన విషయము అందరికీ అత్యవసరము.
In this, regarding this, there are few things which have to be inquired further by everyone.
ఏమనా లోకమున ఓం అనగా ప్రణవమును మీరు మాత్రమే ఉచ్చరించవలెను. ఏమనగా లోకమున you have to spray only pranava. వీరు మాత్రమే ఉచ్చరించవలెను, వారు మాత్రమే ఉచ్చరించవలెనని కొంతమంది అలజడ కలిగించరు. Some people say that they have to only.
Some can say, some cannot say. Such ideas have been propagated by some.
ఇది చాలా పొరపాటు.
This is a mistake.
నిజముగా ఒక నిమిషం.
Yes, auntie.
Yeah. Where did it go? గీతలో వారు వీరు అని తెలుపలేదు.
అట్టివాడు విషయము తెలియక
ఏ లింగ భేదములు కానీ చూపలేదు.
Auntie, a little earlier than that, auntie.
ఓకే, కరెక్ట్. ఇది చాలా పొరపాటు.
This is a mistake.
తెలియక కేవలము విశ్వాసము మాత్రమే ప్రధానముగా గీతలో వీరు వారు అని తెలుపలేదు.
So నిజముగా such people who say this, they do not know the meaning, without knowing, having certain belief.
ఎవరైనా సరే అన్నాడు కృష్ణుడు.
Geetha, Krishna has said anyone can say, chant this.
కానీ ఏ లింగ భేదములు కానీ చూపలేదు.
He did not show any differentiation between genders.
ఎవరు అర్హులు ఎవరు అనర్హులు అని తెలుపలేదు.
Who is deserving and who is not deserving has not been mentioned by Krishna.
అయితే ప్రణవ ధ్యానమున మాత్రము యోగ్యతలు తెలిపినాడు.
But he said who is deserved for meditation of the on pranava.
ఏమనగా
what it means is,
ఏమనగా కేవలము ఓ ప్రణవమును స్మరించిన మాత్రమున ప్రయోజనము
లేదు,
స్వాధీనమందుకొని
ప్రయోజనము లేదు. He says just chanting om does not, and thinking about om by itself is not of use.
సర్వేంద్రియములను స్వాధీనమందించుకొని మనస్సును భగవంతునిపై నిలిపి ప్రాణమును ధ్యానించమని అన్నాడు. ప్రణవమును ధ్యానించి అన్నాడు.
So Krishna has said all the senses have to be under control, and the mind should be established on God, and then pranava has to be meditated on.
ఇది చాలా అవసరం.
This is very important.
మనసు పరిపరి విధముల విలిపించును, నోటిలో ఓం ఓం అనినంత సాధనలు మాత్రమున పరమాత్మని పొందలేడు.
The mind actually, in many ways, it will move around, I guess, vilapinchu.
విలపించు.
The mouth alone may say om om.
Mind wanders. దానికి,
that means by that you will not be able to obtain Lord.
దానికి జీవిత కాలమున ఇంద్రియ నిగ్రహ సంబంధమైన సాధనలు చేసిన ఆనాటికి అట్టి అర్హతను పొందగలడనే పుట్టిన దాదిగా వాట్ ఇస్ ఇట్ పుట్టిన
దాదిగా ఫ్రమ్ ద
బర్త్ సత్యాన్వేషణము
సాగించమని
అన్నాడు పరమాత్ముడు. అట్లుగాక ఆనాడు మాత్రము సాధన ప్రారంభించవచ్చును కదా.
So what Swami is saying is, this, because to control the senses, one has to practice that from the birth, from the time of birth to the until dying, only through that process. And also we have to seek the truth, satyanveshanamu. We have to practice this has been told by Krishna.
ఈనాటి నుండి ఎందుల కన్నా సంవత్సరమంతయు కష్టపడి చదివినా కాదా సంవత్సరాంతమున పరీక్షలో ఉత్తీర్ణుడు కాగలడు.
So Swami says, for writing an exam, you have to start preparing from today onwards for a whole year. Only then, and by a lot of dint of effort, only through that one can pass the exam.
I think you please go ahead.
అట్లు కాకుండా పరీక్షలు సంవత్సరమున్నాడి కాదా అని పుస్తకము పట్టక, ఉపాధ్యాయులు చెప్పినది వినక, వ్రాసి కొన్నది చదువక, పరీక్షనందు పుస్తకమును పట్టిన ఆశలు మస్తకమే చెడిపోవును. అసలు మస్తకమే చెడిపోవును. What Swami is saying is, if you do not do that, and you are not reading throughout the year, you are not listening to what the teacher is saying, you are not studying what has been written down, just because before the exam, if you pick up the book, your head will be completely confused.
Yeah, correct. Ningle padingu.
ఇక పరీక్ష ఏమి పాస్ కాగలడు. In this case, how can somebody pass an exam? ఇట్టి స్థితి పరమ సోమరి పోటు విద్యగా ఉండును. This is like education of a person, a lazy person. మనము I think we have gone past, it looks like, Kalyani, no?
The Geetha does not.
I don't think we read this yet.
Yeah, I think I will stop here.
Okay.
I think, Auntie, we went past what was read in English.
Okay.
I think we'll open it up for discussion, please.
Yeah, we can.
Looks like everyone has gone into meditation.
I think it's very clear for everybody.
That's right. It's very clear.
Yeah, correct.
Sairam, brother. So here the Swami is emphasizing the mind. The five senses is nothing because mind is the one going behind to the five senses. If the mind is not going to the five senses cannot do nothing. For an example, there's so many stories about the mind is the leader for the five senses. There was a young rishi, he wanted to meditate. He was sitting on the riverside. Then he started to say Om or some mantras. Then that side, one lady passed, young lady passed with the anklet, and so beautiful. So his meditation was disturbed. Then next day, what he thought was better to close my eye. So he closed the eye, started to do the mantras, and he can hear the noise of the anklet. So then the next day, what he did was, in order to proceed that his meditation, he closed the ear with some, cotton ball or something like that. Then next day, that time, the mind was thinking, where is that girl? So in that way, so five senses nothing to do with that one. Let the five senses do their work, whatever it's supposed to do. If you clean the mind, if you purify your mind towards inwardly, then you can achieve your sadhana. That means you have to be a full-time devotee. How you can full-time a devotee? You have to think about all the time. When you get up, thank you very much for the Lord. When you are eating time, say thank you. When you're going to work, say every time, think about Him. That means not only going to the Sai Center or temple, or praying time, don't think about God. Every time you think about God, then you can be a full-time devotee. In that way, eventually, the Viveka will improve. Once the Viveka improve, the Vairagya will improve, then you will achieve the goal. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, brother, just to clarify. So what you are saying is we don't have to worry about the senses. We have to worry about the mind.
Yes, because mind is the leader. So when you are teaching time, I may listen to you. I may looking at you, but my mind is somewhere. So I'm not going to listen anything that time. Ear is open, but I may dreaming something else. When you ask, what did you say now? I cannot say nothing that time because my mind went somewhere. I didn't listen that time. That means mind is the leader.
But brother, Swami has said preliminary disciplines are like control of the senses. So
Yes.
so then he says concentration of the mind.
Control of the senses mean, in my understanding, when that Viveka, before anything you're looking at or you are observing or anything, or you're going to take that one, you should not offer to the God. In that way, then you can identify, is it going to be good for my spiritual purpose? So eventually you'll get the God's blessing and grace to move towards inwardly.
Okay, brother. So anyone would like to comment on what brother has said, or just the question of?
I have a question.
Yes, auntie.
This Om chanting, Pranava chanting,
Yes.
should it be always constant, or you have to do it when you are praying in the morning and evening, Sandhya Vandana?
Okay, so auntie has asked a question. I will again open it for discussion based on whatever we have read and whatever we have discussed and what we are reading. If anyone can comment on that.
Brother, there's one more thing adding to the discussion is here it's Krishna has told the Pranava before that the preliminary discipline have to be gone through. What is that? So that is the one daily practice, hearing this. So that's consist of so many items, I think. That can we discuss that also, please? Thank you.
Yes, sister.
Sai Ram, for Sakha Auntie's question, whether the Om should be chanted maybe 3 times a day or constantly throughout the day, or for that question, even our Irdidi, simply we can chant in the Om Irdidi 3 times or 8 times or in the whatever the times. But if it doesn't go into our uh, I
Sister.
believe in the Sanskrit it's called Nidithyasana. We have to really got into our uh, inner absorption is required. Simply saying Om, 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 with our mind, with something else, it's not going to achieve anything at all. That's why the last class we discussed Sravanam, Mananam, Nidityasanam, and maybe this would be coming under the Nidityasanam. So it doesn't matter how many times we chant the Om, but whenever we chant, that Om, it should be really absorbed into our inner being. That's the very important part, I think. Also, I believe in this particular 3 passages, Swami says that crash courses is not going to bring you anything at all. This is a lifelong learning from the birth to death. And also the cheat sheets, if we are trying to achieve something by cheating, okay, I will remember this one maybe at the time of the death or something, some sort of cheating commands in our mind is not going to bring it anything successfully. That sort of understanding, I got it from these 3 passages. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam. Sairam.
Sairam, Sairam.
Sairam. Actually, what I felt is Swami's instructions, what he says to control the mind, and for all other things, Namasmarana comes the first. You take any Swami's, any God's name, and keep on repeating that. So it will be easier in life for achieving whatever we want, the results. Even the mind gets controlled. It's an experience. Namasmarana helps a lot. And in that, Swami has mentioned Gayatri Mantra as a very powerful technique for the mind control. Otherwise, if Gayatri Mantra is too long, Om Shri Sai Ram or Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, that itself has got a lot of power. And as you chant and chant, your mind gets controlled. Like the way you said for the examination and the classes, for the end result for the examination, this practice of Namasmarana helps a lot. That's it. Sairam.
Thank you very much, sister.
Sairam, I too agree with Sister what she spoke now. If you always think of God from morning until you go to sleep, saying Sairam, 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 your mind sort of gets purified, and that becomes a habit to think of God all the time. Just mere chanting Om, it sort of doesn't it's like, just for the sake of chanting Om, you chant. But when you do Namasmarana, it's always there. It comes into practice automatically every minute. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Auntie. Yes, Vani Auntie, you want to say something or no? Okay. Anyone else would like to say it?
Just adding to the discussion points. So Swami would always say 1 teaspoon of cow's milk is better than barrels and barrels of donkey's milk. So in that context, whichever name it is appealing, starting with either it is Pranava or our Ishta Devata or our Kula Devata, whatever it is with that intensity that we are able to call out to the Lord. We know about that story of the farmer where Sage Narada is sent by Lord Vishnu. He begins his work and concludes his work every time by chanting Lord Narayana's name. But that is not an excuse by itself to say that I will only do it at that time. But it is always that intensity as to whatever we do, can we offer that work as worship? And even as we are doing that, if we can take the Lord's name with all that pining, it helps to connect. Of course, in this context, Swami is telling about the Pranava because that is the beginning, that is the end. So that is one aspect. Going to what Brother Dasan was mentioning earlier in terms of the mind and the senses, with regard to the senses, it is like, since all the senses are outward facing and generally look into the outer world, if we can first shut down those senses and make them go inward, then it becomes, because to tame the mind, it is directly to confront the mind becomes difficult. And so to approach it through the senses, picking each of the senses, whether it is that of the sight and what we see, of what we speak, of what we hear, what we smell, what we feel, everything, if slowly we can have those senses directed inward, then it is like we are now closing all the locks or closing all the doors which keeps taking us out, and then approaching the mind and having that conversation to take the mind now deeply inside becomes easier. So the approach of starting with the senses to the mind to ultimately realize who the inner being is would help. And to the other question that Sister Aruna had raised with the basic things that need to be done, like what Bhagawan is saying at the end, we need to start somewhere, like, because ultimately doing it incessantly, doing it every second, and offering it to God is all the ultimate. But for us to start somewhere, can we set aside certain time in the day? Can we say that, Swami, this is my time for you? And we know even in Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, all of those things, that first is basically starting with certain disciplines. Can we undertake that kind of a thing and say, I dedicate this time to Swami? So at least that time we are able to give to Bhagawan, I am able to give it there. And then slowly going more and more, we start extending that time so that it becomes the entire day, and then it becomes the entire life. That kind of approach, if we can take, that will be something that we can keep trying every day and so on. Saira.
Thank you very much, Sai Satish.
Thank you to all. Thank you to all.
Sai Satish, you said shut the door and windows. So now, Brother Dasan gave an example of a sannyasi who was trying to meditate, and he heard some jingles of the anklets or something. So what can we do? How do we shut the door?
Brother, that is the one thing we have to understand. What is sense control means, right?
Exactly.
That's the
So,
biggest
Sai
part.
Satish, how do we shut the doors? I think that's the question.
Yes. That is
And the windows also.
Our sense is supposed to be there, like, to.
So Sairam, brother,
Right?
how to shut down the door? So for an example, we talked about before too, for the infant, we give the milk. When slowly grown up, we give solid food. So eventually it try to eat the solid food. Same way, if we, through the mind, if we ignore that one, and if we try to give the spiritual path, this is what you needed, then look at that other way. Even if you look at pretty woman and look at that one is a God's creation, thing like that, then your mind will be pure. So let the eye do the work. You cannot control the eye, but your mind, you have to control the mind. Then
But
eventually,
brother, Swami has said control, concentration of the mind is what you are talking about.
yeah,
Everyone is saying, how do we control the senses? Leave the mind alone. How do we control the senses?
yeah, you just ignore that one, which is good for the spiritual. If it is not good for the spiritual purpose, ignore that one. Don't try to absorb that one. Use your viveka, think it is good for me to my God. If it is not good, ignore it. Then eventually you will follow that one. You will get used to that.
Sairam,
Yes.
Bhagavan says you have to curb your senses. Thoughts have to be one-pointed, and glory of the Lord always to be apprehended. So if you have mind, senses, and everything together in one-pointedness, I think you can achieve it. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much.
Sairam,
Saira Mati.
I feel, as Brother Dasan said, it is so difficult to control the senses. But as you said, slowly and slowly, gradually, we may be able to control the senses. But the mind should be given a higher goal, a nobler place, so that the mind concentrates on that rather than the information brought by the senses. So mind can concentrate on the higher goal and think of a nobler thing, so that the mind can be diverted towards a higher goal. That's what I feel. Saira.
Thank you, Auntie. Thank you. Yes, Sister Maha.
Saira, whenever we recite, instead of focusing, if you are reciting one of the God or Lakshmi or Swami, Swami saying that we had to picture when we recite the God, just like not mechanically Om Sri Sai Ram, Om Sri Sai Ram or something like that. So if we do keep on doing that, it will come with practice. We may control the senses. We have to constantly, keep on doing it every day, all the time. When we are cooking or when you are walking or whatever you do, I think when we practice all the time, maybe, it will easier for us to control the mind. Shaira.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. Thank you.
Yeah, Saira, just adding to what sister just mentioned, two things. One is in terms of abhyasa yogena, like the same thing, we keep practicing so that we perfect it. And then we also know, we say bend the body, mend the senses, end the mind. So bending the body in terms of doing that seva, doing that sadhana, that whole thing, and ultimately coming to that, like what we call constant integrated awareness. Every time directing it to Bhagawan, anything in terms of whatever has been discussed, every time it comes, can we take it back to Bhagawan? Or based on what we were discussing yesterday, and you had mentioned also, any of that thing that comes, it is about seeing whether it is my ego that is coming up, or whether it is the pure thought of offering it to Swami itself. So every time that ego comes up, putting it back to Swami, sending it back, each of those instances of taking it back to Bhagwan and having Swami in focus at all points in time will help with that abhyasa yoga happening time and again. At one point in time, possibly it becomes sarala swabhava or sahaja swabhava, and then we go forward. Something of that kind.
Okay, thank you, Sai Satish. I think two things I think we may have to explore. You use the word mend the senses. So we need to know how to mend the senses, number one. And then Auntie also said, the mind has to be given a higher goal, and which is what others also have mentioned. So how do we do that? See, senses, so Swami is saying senses have to be controlled. So does it mean that, we have to always keep Swami's picture and keep on looking at it? Or does it mean we have to be continuously hearing, some bhajan or something like that?
Brother,
Otherwise, ear will listen to something else, or the eyes will look at something else.
brother, we learned that to look at the divinity pervade everywhere. God is everywhere. Then when you look at it, everything, you will look at it in a different point of view, not on a worldly sense. You think the divinity is present in everything. So that will allow to control your mind. That's how I look at it. Thank you, Sairam.
Sai Ram, sister. But I just to pause. See, I think one thing. I think one thing we should focus when we are studying what Swami is saying is what exactly is Swami saying. Sometimes we can give other solutions to the problem. Okay, for example, Swami is talking about concentrating on Om, but then we will say, why don't we do Namasmarana? Swami didn't say Namasmarana. We can say we can meditate. Swami did not talk about meditation or chant other mantras. Swami has said focus on Om, Pranava, control your senses. See, Swami has used the word discipline. I think that's the key. How do we discipline the senses is the thing. I think we need to explore this further. I think. See, because I was looking at this solution of what Brother Dasan said, the example of someone who was meditating on the riverbed or somewhere. I was thinking about it and said, a youngster whose mind is not in control, whose senses are not in control, chose a wrong place to meditate. So the thing is, there should not be any distraction for the ears. There should not be any distraction for the eyes, because the eyes tend to look here and there. So I think then we should make sure that the eyes and ears never have too much distraction. As a student, the Swami didn't allow us to go outside the mandir, the hostel. He said, no films, no newspapers, no magazines, because all this, once the eyes and the senses get a taste of them, they will run after them wherever. So it will be a problem, because I think everyone spoke about mind. In Gita, Arjuna is telling, oh Krishna, mind is such a fickle thing to control. Impossible. It's much more tougher than a wild elephant. Balavad Dridam, so I is telling, impossible for anyone to control. Auntie?
Chanchalam hi manam Krishna.
Balavad
Arjuna tells
Yes.
Krishna, my mind is so chanchal, it's fickle-minded. That's what he tells.
So actually, I'm reminded of Swami telling in a discourse, when people suggested Swami, why segregation of genders and all that. So at that time, in a discourse, Swami is saying, people are saying, we have our mind is under control, senses under control, no problem, we can freely mix. Swami says, are you all telling that you are bigger than Arjuna? The type of focus Arjuna had, none of you will ever have. And you all are talking as if you are better than Arjuna. That's what Swami said. See, Arjuna's focus was such that when he had to shoot a bird, he only saw the eye of the bird. So, when such a person who has such great concentration is talking like this, we are nowhere. We are just repeating from other, wherever we have read here, there. The reality is, if Swami said control with senses, we need to really focus on that. That means he does not want us to pamper the senses at any point in time. That's why he used the word preliminary discipline. So until we do this and control the senses, we may be saying Sai Ram, no problem. But is the mind focused on Sai Ram all the time is the question. That's why I felt so. I will stop here. See, that's why rishis those days, to start meditation, they went to a jungle where no people are there. Even in a jungle, they will climb a high mountain and they will go into a cave where senses don't have any distraction. That is where you start learning meditation. Swami also has used another example. He says, when a small little plant is there, you have to put a fence around it nicely. Okay, that time you can't say, oh, you can't tell a little plant, you should be brave, let even a cow come, no problem. He says, no, a little plant has to be given a fence, should be protected from any distraction. Once it grows into a big tree, even a cow can come and take rest under it. Nothing can happen. So I think we should take senses and the discipline of senses very seriously. We should not cater to it. We should not watch this and that. We should not hear this noise, this news, that news. You should read all sorts, all and sundry. I think that's what Swami is referring to. Is my understanding. I may be wrong. I'll stop here.
Yeah.
Sai Ram. Yeah. Being a Sai student, I'm an Anandpur College alumni. I just introduced myself. And actually, once this Pedabatu Amal, remember, she's a Shirdi Sai devotee, and then she came into the Prashanti Nilayam, and Swami recognized her and everything. So she was doing Namasmarana, Om Shri Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, always. Then she wanted to do meditation and asked Swami again and again. Swami said, just do Namasmarana and nothing else. So that is what, see, the way you said, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram. In the beginning, maybe you will not get the form, or like while discharging your duties, you just take the name. But slowly, slowly, with practice, when you start taking Sai Ram name, that power comes inside you. And slowly, slowly, you get into that practice and you reach to that stage where whenever you say Sai Ram, like he comes in your dreams, or he gives you visions, or he gives you. This happens over a period of time. Like Swami says, it's a nursery stage. Nursery, then you come develop yourself, and you and me are one. Okay, that also he says. So it's a nursery stage when we start doing, and that to this tree and the plant, the way a Balvikas is a plant. We nourish the children with all these things so that they do the practice. And as they move on in their life, it so happens, it is an experience with many people around. That's what I just want to share. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Sai Ram, brother. A few minutes ago, Brother Arunu beautifully indicated that maybe the rishis go to jungles or further up into the very high mountains, because no disturbance from the other people and those things. Unfortunately, we all are living in the urban areas, so very city life and those things. We cannot have those maybe facilities, or maybe even I would say that those privileges we may not have. Our meditation cave, either it would be at home, or maybe in the centers, or even sometimes walking meditation on the street. So if we are in this situation, and already Mani Aunty and Brother Dasan indicated that it's very hard to control the senses and the concentration on the mind while we are walking, or while we are staying at home. There are so many distractions. And what about this one? For us, the mind, we also found out that mind is the most difficult part, and we have to discipline that, or either we should occupy that mind with something positive things rather than negative. Or Brother Dasan, even the example I really, when I think, I thought it's a beautiful example. If even if that is the situation, if someone, a very beautiful girl going on the riverside, and all those things, if our mind is trained like that, okay, it's a beautiful creation walking on in front of me, and I'm just looking, that's all. So maybe that sort of mentality we have to develop in our mind, even though if we look at the negative things or unwanted things, we have to train our mind to take it positively and without affecting ourselves. Swami also, Brother Arun also, they indicated that Swami, when they were at the Prashanti, the school, boarding school, Swami wouldn't allow them to go outside the street or look at the magazines or movie. Maybe certainly there is a point, maybe in the initial very teenage level or in that very young level, maybe mental thoughts should be disciplined. Once we get out from that one, we also need to some sort of development, how to overcome those things. All the time we cannot be living in a cage. We have to come out and we have to expose to the outside world too. Maybe that's my little thought on this one. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you. This sounds like a revision of Geetha Vahini, actually. Swami very clearly goes through how do we develop concentration in Dhyana Vahini. I think it's time for us to go and revise a little bit. But anyway, I will stop here. Any other thoughts, please?
So, Sairam, brother. So, just any countries, development or country status or any organization determined by the leader. So, if the leader is not good, everything's gone, collapse. Same thing for the census, leader is the mind. So if that leader supposed to decide, I want to go worldly side or spiritual side. So the leader supposed to decide. The mind is the leader, supposed to decide, coordinate with the intellect and take the good decision. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam, brother. Any other thought, please?
Sorry, Uncle. For the line in Telugu, can you just go through the meaning again? Ayite pranava dhyanam munaku matramu.
Okay, one second.
Where is it?
So Aite pranava dhyanamunaku matramu yogyatalu telipinadu. So what Swami says, he did not, Krishna did not tell who is deserving, who is not deserving, he has not mentioned. Okay, that's evaru arhulu, evaru anarhulu, ani telupaledu. Okay, he did not say. But however, he has explained, Aite pranava dhyanamunaku matramu yogyatalu telipinadu. How do we become capable of dhyanam, pranava dhyanam? That has been explained by Krishna. Then Swami says, Yemanaga, what it means is, Kevalamu Om Pranavamunu Smarinchinanta Matramunu Prayojanamu Ledu. Just remembering Om
will not help.
Is of no use. Okay, it's of no use. Okay. Kalyani, is it okay?
Yes.
So I think, see, taking this and extrapolating, even if the Namasmarana, just Marincha, just, you know, things, see, instead of Om, if we say Samasmarana, is it better? I think it amounts to more or less the same thing. Swami saying that alone is not enough. Then he goes on to tell, he goes on to say, సర్వేంద్రియములను స్వాధీనముందుచుకొని
మనస్సును భగవంతునిపై
నిలిపి
ప్రణవనము ధ్యానించవలను.
So he said all senses should be completely withdrawn. Okay, swadhina means you should be withdrawn, and then the mind should be established.
Swadhinam under control.
Under control.
Under control.
Swadhina.
Brother, senses to be withdrawn in this world, that also we can discuss. That's the main thing to control the mind, right? So, but you are working, you are doing things, you are socializing, everything. So we already learned that you have to keep your mind and God, and you do your duties, right? That's the way we look at it. All these things, right? So senses to be withdrawn. That is, I think that's how I would look at it. Is there anything else we have to do to withdraw the senses? That's the one on. That's the key point to catch, to control the mind, right?
Yeah. As Arun said, the controlling of the senses is the preliminary thing.
Yes.
For that, we can't go to a mountain top and then into the cave or anything like that. We can choose. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga, you choose a place which is very, very aloof and a place where you are not getting distracted by other things. So such a place you should choose and allot some time for that particular time where you have to sit and then do the dhyana. That's very important, what Krishna is suggesting to us. I think if we can follow that, that would be, and so that our senses are not distracted by other outside things. In such a place we have to sit.
We can, that will allow us to control our senses.
Yeah. Choose a place.
That's why I said we should go back to Dhyana Vahini. Swami is saying, if without sense control, through which mind control is achieved, if we try to work in this world, it's like somebody who not learning how to driving on the road. So Swami says, I don't know whether you will remember, Swami says such a person should take the car where there's no one, an open space, where you will not meet with any accident, and you should practice there. So I gave the example of cave, because Swami's, the reason is, even our home in one room where there is no disturbance, no other distraction, that's good enough. That's also a cave.
That's also okay.
So I gave the example by even rishis, great rishis, they took the pain to find a place like that. Those days, maybe they don't have, big houses where everyone had their own private room or, the meditation room or anything like that. In such places, you have to find somewhere else, because most homes were joint family. There'll be 30, 40 to 100 people, you absolutely no one, no private space. So they have to look out for private space. In modern day world, we have some private space. So that's why I said we should, so that Swami has already covered sense control in Dhyana Vahini. And I think we read it for a long period of time. So that's why I thought we will just remind.
We can revise it.
Sairam, brother.
Revise it.
Sairam, brother. The thing is, are we practicing in the Brahma Muhurta? That is nowadays is less. So the thing is, if we get more energy from morning, that means cosmic level is high. So the per day we have energy also. So another thing, we have to have if we meditating or anything, thought comes, mean no need to expand the thinking and all. So that is also another control of mind. So this is I have to say the practice of we have a time in the Brahma Muhurta time, especially urban place or anything. So that is more energy we are going to get it. That's what I can say. This is my request.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you very much. And I think you are just repeating what Swami has told in Dhyana Vahini.
Yeah.
He says every day we have to get up at Brahma Muhurta. We have to sit in one place. It should be a quiet place. We should sit in a, in what asana we should sit. All this was discussed by Swami in Dhyana Vahini, and that is the way we develop concentration of mind. And once that concentration of mind is there, then Swami says ultimately the entire day should be meditation. We start somewhere, I think, which is what Sai Satish also said. We will set up some time, fixed time, practice it. Through that, we develop. And that is discipline, getting up at a particular point in time. I think that's why I'm going back to Dhyana Vahini, because Swami, there were actually 1 or 2 chapters where this has been discussed by Swami. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sairam, uncle. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is there seems to be either we can't completely withdraw the senses. We have to control them. We're going to have some interaction, our senses will, even to eat food. I mean, we enjoy the food and then we can crave that food again. So, I mean, for my own self, I feel like if I'm craving something, that to me isn't, it's an indication that I don't have control over that. Even if it's coffee or tea or some dessert or something like that. So is it about just limiting ourselves to the point where we don't crave something, or when we crave something, then we should cut back, or we should kind of deny ourselves that sense pleasure?
I think earlier on also Swami has discussed this, Kalyani. Swami uses the kurmanganiva, understand? How the tortoise withdraws its limbs and goes inside, we should develop the ability to withdraw the senses. Okay. So I think you are telling, anyway, we are using the senses, all the time. But Swami would say, don't pamper the senses. We should not pamper. Because once you pamper, no way you can control. Just like, children. If you pamper them a lot, impossible to discipline. So they have to be trained. Nowadays they even have people who are experts in training dogs, how to discipline their behavior. So it's the same thing, I think, with senses also. When the eyes say, I want to look at that, you should tell, why do you want to look at it? So you should ask. So I think, yeah, that's all we can do. I know it's tough. When we're living in the world, why already senses are fully spoiled. So curbing it's a challenge, huge challenge.
So even if you want to eat something like a nice food, or I'm just, is that pampering the senses?
Chocolate.
Is that considered pampering the senses? Even if it's not dessert, but even something savory, if you want to eat something nice, rather than just something with no salt, no seasoning.
Kalyani, 79 years old also craves. So don't worry. You have a long way to go.
I would say the craving is something we have to control. That if food of a thing, you shouldn't have that. You should be eating anything for you're hungry. That's it. So taste wise, this food, that is I think is something we have to work on with the senses again. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you. Yes, Brother Thasan. I think Brother Thasan.
Yes, Sairam, brother. For the craving food, when you offer the food to the Lord, eventually you will, with the grace of the God, you won't be craving for the food in a long time if you practice that one. Food is for living. And with the grace, it will go away. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Thasan. So, Kalyani, I think just to elaborate the point, that's why in the Sanatana Dharma tradition, there are many vratas, On Mondays you fast. You eat saltless, food without adding salt. So these are practices which has been developed so that slowly we overcome this pampering of the senses.
Yes.
So I think many people just go on Mondays, no salt, things like that. I think Auntie, can you I think you will elaborate some of this.
Somvara Vratam. Many people go on Uppilla Sapad, Uppilla. It helps us in a way to lessen our craving for very this thing, food which is full of masala. We may find that it's getting reduced if you follow that discipline, vratam.
That's one more thing is came to my mind. When you control the salt and all, the pressure go down, your angry go down, kind of. So bad enemies goes to.
It's a good healthy diet.
So you're saying physical health and mental health both improve, sisters? So I think we can, by step by step, baby steps we can take, I guess.
Baby steps we can take.
That's why, even children, they say, you give them fast, fast from the TV, fast from the, set timings. But nowadays we have all phones, so we wake up with the phone and go to sleep with the phone, everything is there. So that's another challenge.
And Uncle, just so I understand clearly, I think you were saying that, so what Swami's saying here is to meditate on Om, and you're saying that that's different from Namasmarana?
No, it's the same thing. See, Om, Pranava is God, ultimately, whether it's a name or Om, but none of them mechanically remembering is no use. That's what Swami is saying. He said, you have to first pull in all the, control the senses, Swadhina, then your mind should be completely focused, and then you remember, that's what he says. Only then you can attain the Lord. Okay. But sometimes our mind itself will say, oh, you are doing Namasmana, all good. Continue. The mind is the biggest trickster, because mind is worried that you are going to curb too much. So he will say, you are a very good sadhaka. You are, thinking only of Swami. Okay. But, little by here and there, you can, a little bit of indulgence is okay. Be balanced. You have to be not overly, you should not do anything, overdo it. Just let's be balanced. Mind is worried always that it will lose its hold.
Brother, we learned before in this paragraph, paragraph before, Om Swami made it equivalent to Pranava mantra, and Pranavam is equal to Parabrahma. Like that, he was connecting, right? So Om, he has made it equivalent to the Pranava. So Pranava is equal to Brahman. So Parabrahmam, so like that only he connected. So that's the way to connect the Om there, kind of. Thank you, Sarah.
I think it's also good to know why. I think Swami has already discussed about Pranava in a couple of places, which we have actually studied. Why Pranava is given more importance than any other mantra also. So that's another discussion. But
so, brother, why don't you tell briefly one word what is Swami said about that Om Pranava before we move on? Because he's equating to Swami again. Pranavam is equal to Brahmam and Parabrahmam, like that. So why don't you say one word of what is Swami's like essence of it? Thank you, Sarah.
I think maybe Swami is covering that in the next.
No, we already came across that, when we are talking about Akshara Parabrahma.
Exactly, Auntie.
Now, Om and is the Pranava, which is Akshara, which is equivalent to Brahman. We came across that last.
Yeah, so I think, yeah. Anyone who would volunteer to remember what we had studied about Pranava? Okay.
Okay, maybe.
See, okay, I think no one was volunteering. See, Swami has said Om signifies the entire cycle of birth, existence, and dissolution, number one. But Om has a significant thing because there are no consonants. That means the sound is never blocked. Om is a continuous, there's nothing actually breaks the production of sound or the flow of air in Omkara. So actually it signifies that is the way we should think of God, without a break, without any other disturbance. Because any consonant, as soon as it comes, actually it distorts the sound. It stops it, it breaks it, and allows it to go. None of that is present in Om. So that's why Krishna himself uses Om, because Om is the ultimate mantra, which is equivalent to God, because it's a continuous sound. It doesn't have nothing in the middle which it stops. So God is also of the same kind. Aksharam, that means it does not have kshara. Okay, so that's I think Swami has discussed it in Sandeha Nivarani, and I think he also discussed a little bit in Dhyana Vahini. And now we are ready.
Thank you, brother.
So Om actually equivalent to any mantra. Actually, in some place, Swami says the only mantra is Om. Without Om, there is no mantra. Mantra is, unless without Om, it cannot be energized. That's every mantra also we say Om. So those are some other places where Swami has mentioned that. I think next time we will have the revision material also ready, I guess, in this kind of.
I think, brother, we detailedly studied one time the importance of 21 times chanting Om mantras, and I still remember that maybe when we chant each Om, it activates 5 elements. The 5 karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. I believe 15, another 5, and then our final, the 21st Ohms, it unites all of these with the Parabrahman or something, that sort of explanation I got it from that particular session, why we have to chant 21 times Om, what are the importance. So it really activates in our body, it connects with the 5 elements, the universe, the earth, air, fire, and the 5, and then the 5 Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas, and the another 5, I am unable to recollect right now. Another 5 also, all 20, plus the Brahman, that's altogether 21. That's why it was suggested that Swami suggested at least 21 times early in the morning, Brahma Muhurtam, we have to chant to activate ourselves, to connect with the cosmic energy, then the whole day we will be very active and the positive and all those things.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you very much. See, Swami gives us the opportunity to remember, recollect, and so on.
Yeah, correct. 5 pranas also.
Yes, 5 pranas, 5 koshas.
Yeah, I missed the 5 kosas. Yeah.
Prana.
Yeah.
Any other thought from anyone, please? If not, we can move on.
Move on. We are stuck here. senses and
You
mind.
want to flow like the Om.
Senses and mind is just holding on.
Okay.
For when the mind is flitting from one fancy to another, how can the production of a sound Om, Om, by the vocal organs be of any benefit? The sound will not help the attainment of liberation. The senses have to be curbed. Thoughts have to be one-pointed. The glory has to be apprehended. That is why the Lord advised that from birth to death, one must be engaged in the search for truth. Instead, if you postpone sadhana until the last moment, you will be like the student who turns over the pages of his textbook for the first time just before he enters the examination hall. If the student feels that he has before him one full year, and if he neglects to learn from the teacher and from lecture notes and from books, how can anything enter his brain when he opens the pages of his book that very morning? It will only add to his despair. He can be pronounced proficient only in indolence. No tree will yield fruit the moment you plant the seedling in your backyard. To reach that stage, you have to foster it with care over a long period of time, is it not? Similarly, whatever result you seek, you have to follow carefully, without break, the preparatory disciplines. No one can acquire the fruit without vigilance and steadfastness. Sadhakas must always be aware of this. The yearning must be directed away from how to be born towards how to die. Birth depends on how death takes place. Death comes first, birth happens later. Folks believe that men are born to die, and they die so that they may be born. This is wrong. You are born so that you may not be born again. You die so that you may not die again. That is to say, the man who dies must so die that he is not born again. When once you die, you should not be born again to meet another death. Death is inevitable if you are born. So avoid birth and avoid death. So the sadhaka should not aspire for a good birth. He should seek a good death. You may be born well in a good family or with many favorable circumstances, but subsequent karma may not ensure a good death. So, if a good death is aimed at, the trouble of being born and becoming once again subject to death can be avoided. Every man born must have the end always in view. Cultivate good habits of thought and action in order to make that end genuinely auspicious. Attaining such an end is the unmistakable sign of having won the grace of God.
Got a big.
I don't know, Swami has packed so much here, and it's 3:15. So I think, why don't we just focus on the first paragraph?
Yeah, first paragraph. That's it.
For today, so that we will do justice to.
I think we have already read that Telugu.
Yes, Auntie.
Translation.
Yeah, we have already read the Telugu translation, so we can go to the discussion directly. If anyone.
So when Swami's saying here, how can the production of a sound Om by the vocal organs be of any benefit? So that kind of discounts the story of Ajamila, right? Because he was just chanting the name without thinking of the Lord. But then how about like the story of like, was it, I can't remember which sage, but like he was told to chant the name like Mara. But then Valmiki. So I thought that the name of the Lord itself, like just the sound of it also had some benefit, but Swami's kind of not saying that here.
Okay, good question, Kalyani. So I will open it up for discussion. So what did happen to Ajamila, who didn't even know? And that's the first question. The second one is about Valmiki, Mara. So they did not know the meaning, they did not focus, they did not do meditation. So, but they seem to have gotten some benefit. How does that differ from what Swami is stating here? So that's the question, Kalyan. I hope I have.
Yes.
Okay. So I will open it up for discussion. I think it's very pertinent. So, Swami has said that also, and Swami is saying this also. Is it contradictory or is it complementary? Which one do we choose? Is the Ajamala route seems better for all of us? This seems to be too difficult. So I think those are questions which will go through our head. So, okay, let's take Ajamila. So if somebody can tell the story of Ajamila, that will be good to start off. I don't know whether everyone knows. So anyone who knows the story of Ajamila, if you can say the story, it will be, yes, at least start of the discussion.
So this is the story of a person by name Ajamila who is on his deathbed, and at the last moment of his passing, he takes Lord Narayana's name, and though his life has been led in a different manner, so in the sense that when he passes out, basically Yamadutas come there to take Ajamila to Yamapuri or wherever, the god of death and that kind of a thing. But at that point in time, the servants of Lord Vishnu also come there, and they say that since Ajamila had taken Lord Narayana's name, he should be taken to Vaikunta. And of course, there is a discussion that goes back and forth, but the take home from that story is that Ajamila finally goes to Vaikunta because at that last moment he had taken Lord Narayana's name. And just building on that part of the question based on what Sister Kalyani had asked, looking at it, first, when Swami is talking in this context of when the mind is going from thought to thought, how will the Om chant matter? That is during our daily life. And when we are talking about Ajamila, it is that last thought that remained at that point in time, which made Ajamila reach Lord Narayana. So at that point in time, many times when we speak about the story, it gives the appearance that, like what has been discussed, that if you take the Lord's name in the last minute, that salvation is assured. That is 100% true. But at the same time, what is taken or what is practiced or how the life is led before that also matters. And though we have told Ajamila's story from that last minute or last second point of view, we really don't know what was the real past of Ajamila, because we are seeing that one time point when he left, which holds good, that he took Lord Narayana's name, so he reached the Lord. But we do not know the entire journey of Ajamila in all his previous births, what happened and the culminations. So Swami always says that you keep hitting the stone and the 23rd strike breaks the stone, and everybody thinks that the 23rd strike has been the one that broke the stone. But actually, the 22 strokes that went before that 23rd also matter, because that is what made the stone come to a point where it broke. And it's very symbolic when that body broke and the soul went. So for Ajamila, when we are talking about he took the Lord's name and went, it's the 23rd stroke. But the 22 strokes that happened previously, we do not know. And that is where Bhagawan is bringing in that concept of taking that Om, so that if we do that every minute of that 22 strokes, we are ready for the 23rd, or who knows, we don't have to wait for the 23rd. It may happen earlier as well. And the context, going over to the second part of Valmiki's Mara for the Rama's thing, Valmiki at that point in time was Ratnakara. He was a dacoit, and he didn't even have Vak Shuddhi. He could not even pronounce Lord Rama's name. And that is where he was given Mara so that it is easy. But the intensity with which he took Mara and made it Rama and made that Lord Rama installed in him to become sage Valmiki is what the efficacy of that name or the power of that name that can do. And at that point in time, when he took Mara, which became Rama, it was chanted with that intensity of sticking with that name continuously, with all the senses withdrawn, with the mind focused on that one name, which ultimately led to that manifestation. Sairam.
Sairam,
If
I know the early part of Ajamina's story because Ajamina, he was a Brahmin, but unfortunately he saw a beautiful lady or woman prostitute, and he followed her, and he went and lived with her, and he had the children, and he named the children. One of the child was named Narayana.
Narayana.
So at the time of the death, he was calling his child, but the name he pronounced so loudly that Vaikunda heard it, and they came down to. Actually, Ajamila did not have, he forgot his birth, he forgot all his family traditions. He went away and came back, that's how he had his children, and he was liberated, whatever. So we can do anything, but at the time, at the last time, if you call out the name, there's a chance. Or it may be the previous births.
So I think I will just like to add, brother. You have the Ajamala story, or
no? I have the drama. I like to add one thing. Whatever Sati said.
yes.
Because here, when the people tell something, you have to listen, and not only listening is not important. Faith, because he had a faith. Then he started to practice that one. Thank you, Saira.
Just to, I think we have about 7 minutes. I just wanted to touch upon a few aspects of Ajamala's life story. But the story is that when he was young, he was a very devout Brahmana. He did everything properly. Okay, that was the first thing. So he was a devotee of the Lord, a Brahmana with a lot of discipline. He led his life, but one day when his father asked him to go collect some flowers from the forest, that is when his eyes fell on a couple. Okay, talk about sense control. And one look at them changed his entire life. All sorts of the mind, he couldn't control the mind. So the thing is, because he had spent his initial days very well, devotion was there, but it had become dormant during that time because the senses took control and the mind also went along. So at the time of death, when he saw the Yamadutas come, is afraid, he called out to his son, Narayana. So, and at the time, Vishnu Dutas came. And the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas had this discussion or debate. Ajamala is supposed to have been a witness of this debate. So Yamadutas were convinced by the Vishnu Dutas that they should not take him. So they left. Vishnu Dutas also disappeared right away. So Ajamala at that point in time, he came to his senses, realizing, learning from the Vishnu Duta that just one utterance of Narayana saved him from death. Once that knowledge came, he went away, giving up everything, renouncing. He went and practiced. And that's the way he liberated himself.
Oh.
So no one should see, this is what happens when we read and come to one point and then say, oh, Narayanan, he was saved, he attained moksha. No. So because he was witness to that conversation, he spent the rest of his life in sadhana. So the Ajamala story clearly tells
Thank you.
how the sense control can trip us, even though we are good. And coming to realization, I think everyone should go and read the Bhagavatam in full. See, problem is, we read articles, Google, somebody's narration. We should go and read it from the Bhagavatam. So the thing is,
But we have to study Bhagavatam here.
yes,
Sairam.
Sairam.
Sorry, I'm sorry to disturb you. The time is very less.
It's okay.
I just wanted to let you know, just came into my mind that for Kali Yuga, Namasmarana is always said. That is also one more point. See, every yuga has got, like the way you said, like we have to go to some somewhere solitude and do prayers and all those things. So every yuga there is one thing, but Swami has in many discourses has said for Kali Yuga, Namasmarana is the only way out. And as you practice, like the way Ratnakara became Valmiki, and he even didn't know the name, that is Mara Mara, he said, and it became Rama Rama, and he got the power. So even if you don't have to visualize also. Like if you just chant and then it becomes practice, and God gives you boon that way. I mean, because see, we have got so many duties to be done in Kali Yuga, like the way, like we have our own duties. We cannot go to any place and sit there. We have got our own whatever duties. God, Swami says that also you have to take care of children. We have to cook. We have to do this, that, and all. During all these things, when you spend time taking Namasmarana and doing all these things, even the cooking part, when you take Swami's name and do, like Swami says, cut the vegetables and taking Swami's name. And when you cook, you take Swami's name. So all these things, and the end product, when it goes into, like when we feed our children, we feed our family. So all these good things go into them, so that even if the children doesn't do Namasmarana, all what we have done indirectly goes into them. I mean, these are certain things, because it helps the family, the society. It goes like that, That's what, that is what I want to say that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sister. It's a very good point, very valid point. That's the best we can do. But I think in this case, Swami, the Krishna's topic which he's saying is, who actually attains me? I think that's on that context is all this discussion. So thank you very much. As you said, Kalau Namasmarana, that Swami has said in Kali. Namasmarana is the only thing available for us. We
have to have good sanskara from our birth.
Vasana.
Samskara, we have to develop that good samskaras are put into children when they're young. So that will develop, that will help us to get the name of the Lord at the time of death.
The last time.
Sairam.
Thank you.
I think it is 3.
Yeah, it's about 3:30. If anyone would like to share any thought which you cannot hold on till next week, please share. If not, we will close with prayers and we'll meet again next week. Sairam, everyone.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Om Sham Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti. Sairam, everyone.
Sairam.